Hi boys and girls, we're going to start our unit on Cinderella Tales. It is one of my favorite units of all times. I love the Cinderella stories, I love how they come from different countries, and I love how we compare and contrast them. Does anybody remember another Cinderella story that we read this year? If you said Yay Shen, you would be correct. The story that you're going to listen to today, there's a YouTube clip of it, is this version of Cinderella. It is the French version of Cinderella, a European version of Cinderella. In our unit, I have so many books here. We're going to study Cinderella tales from all around the world. We even have one called Doggerella. So it's going to be interesting to see which is your favorite. So after you listen to the video of the person reading us this Cinderella tale, it's pretty lengthy. I would like you to take out this packet. It says Cinderella Tales. Remembering that you can pause the video at any time. And the very first sheet in the Cinderella Tales says from Europe. So France is definitely in Europe. That's going to be our first one. Up here it says from Europe. So where it says title, we're going to fill it in with Cinderella because that was the title of this book, Cinderella. What was the setting of the story? Where did the story take place? You could go back and re-listen to the story. I did tell you what country it took place in. For Cinderella. See some different pictures in this version of the story. Well, it took place in France, and it says to star the location on the map. I drew kind of a circle with my highlighter. This is not an exact replica here of the country of Europe, but it took place in France, and I kind of put a little circle there. Who are the main characters in this version of Cinderella? So we know that we have Cinderella. Who else did we have? If you've listened to the story in this version, we had two evil stepsisters, and they have put Cinderella to work for sure, haven't they? And they call her names. They're not very kind. We have a fairy godmother, making her beautiful. We have the part where Cinderella attends the ball and meets the prince. Always one of my favorite parts of a Cinderella tale. And here's Cinderella with those two evil stepsisters that were so mean to her and unkind. And we see them chasing Cinderella down, trying to find her with the shoe. So go ahead and fill in some of the main characters in the story. You have 4 lines, so I'm going to fill in who I think were the 4 most important characters. Remember, if I get ahead, please feel free to go back and change and pause the video. Change any answers you have. I have Cinderella, stepmother, stepsisters, and the prince. If you have something else, you can change it. I didn't add the fairy godmother, but I could add her underneath the prince. I'll put her in there because she does kind of play an important part. Unique elements. Unique means something special or different. What made this story different from other versions that you may know? Maybe you watched a Disney movie. Maybe you've seen a cartoon. Maybe you've seen the cartoon Disney version. Maybe you've seen the live action version. Maybe you saw a different version on YouTube. Is there anything about this story that you think is different from any other versions? Something that I thought was different were some of the words that they used. There were definitely some French words in the story, and they called her, this was different, cinder seat. I noticed that in this story. So that was different. Is there anything else that you thought was different in this story? This seems like one of the stories that's closest to the one that we have here, that we are familiar with. Now, in this version, too, at the end, she forgives the stepsisters. And in some versions, it says, Cinderella, who was good as she was beautiful, gave her sisters a home at the palace, and on the same day, married them to two great lords of the court. So, that was different from some of them. So I think I'm going to put that on here, that she gave the stepsisters a home. And if you think there's something else that you would like to put there, go ahead. There's a lot in this story, more with the stepsisters, I think, as well, than the evil stepmother. We still have her in this story, but she's not as big of a part of it as in some others. I know in the one live action movie, that stepmother really was wicked. So summary, what happened? How can I summarize what happened in Cinderella? Well, we could put she lived with her stepmother and stepsisters, and they were not very kind to her. I'm going to put they were unkind. And you can write this in your own words. There was a grand ball. And Cinderella was forbidden to go. Her fairy godmother, I might have to go on the back of this page, granted her a wish. She went to the ball and met Prince Charming. Or met the prince. So far, that's what I filled in. And you can pause the video. And then I'm going to go on to the back side of the paper. And I'm going to put, she had to be home by midnight. And she lost her glass slipper. I wonder if all the stories are going to have a slipper. In Ye Shen, we had the slipper made out of fish skin. Now, I don't want to retell the whole story, even though I've written a lot. So I'm going to put, in the end, the prince found her, and she lived happily ever after. So I did enjoy this version. I hope you enjoyed this version. And your summary may be slightly different from mine. You may have picked elements that you also thought were different. Remember that you can pause and copy this, or you can put it in your own words. And I hope you enjoyed this Cinderella tale from France.